back in the day when I was in bodybuilding, I used to work at a little supplement store every now and then. They're really, really awesome people. But I remember there were test boosters they always used to sell. And I looked into it and I started researching these test boosters. Now, keep in mind at the time I was studying my degree. I did a degree in medical science. For those of you who don't know, it's like what you do if you want to become like a doctor, a pharmacist, or a dentist, but you don't quite know what you want to do at high school. That's what I was studying. And it's pretty much a research degree. So I went through and I researched and I Googled all the supplements that were in these, these test boosting powders. And I went through and I looked at them all, and pretty much all of them were bullshit, right? Because the supplements that were in this, like all the herbs and all the extracts that were in there, they were either underdosed or just totally didn't work and were a load of crap. For example, you've probably seen people talk about Tribulus before. If you've got low testosterone, and by the way, this is for you, this video is going to be particularly helpful for you. If you think you've got low testosterone, maybe your energy's not quite right, you can't lose fat well, you can't gain muscle well, you're feeling just like lethargic, a bit sluggish, maybe a bit brain foggy, your sex drive's down, maybe you just don't feel like you. You've kind of lost your mojo a little bit. That's a pretty easy way to tell if you've got low testosterone. And a lot of people who have low testosterone, they go and they look for supplements like Tribulus, right? Because they're boosted as they're marketed as testosterone boosters. And with Tribulus and with things like Tribulus, right? They're all a load of shit. Tribulus, for example, is a herb which increases blood flow to your dick. So you get more hard-ons, you get more erections. Often it doesn't increase your sex drive. You just start randomly popping chubs throughout the day. Now, I don't know about you, but that's probably not my favorite part about having high levels of testosterone. I don't like tucking my dick into my belt and trying to act like I don't have a boner, right? And so that's what Tribulus does, for example. It doesn't increase your testosterone, doesn't improve sexual performance. It just gives you a little bit more blood flow to your dick. Simple as that, right? And all of these supplements are a total load of shit. I mean, the next thing that I used to see, and keep in mind as well, guys, like I'm a pro bodybuilder. So I've been bodybuilding for years and years and years. Before I got into this whole coaching thing, I was a pro bodybuilder studying medicine or studying medical science, wanting to go into medicine, become a doctor, right? That was my thing. And so I was looking and I've seen all the bullshit. Actually, I should tell you that as well because that's it's a funny story. So I was studying medical science, wanted to go into medicine to become a doctor. I wanted to be an endocrinologist because I always found for me there, what she ended up doing was she on the spot diagnosed him with a pituitary tumor. No testing, none of that sort of crap. And that was the moment where I totally lost faith in everything to do with endocrinology and medicine, and I decided not to go ahead and I didn't want to become a doctor anymore. It was fucked up. It was a really, really shitty time. And I looked at that and I was like, fuck, this is somebody who's been studying for the last 15 years and she doesn't give a shit about this dude. She's willing to scare him, to give a guy with anxiety and depression, she's willing to scare the fuck out of him just to prove herself, and she didn't want to help him at all. And that's one thing I find which is super, super common, unfortunately. There are a lot of really good doctors out there, but unfortunately, it seems like there's a lot more who don't give a shit. We've had loads of guys who've come to us at JCF who've had low testosterone for years and years and years and years and years, and they try and get help from doctors and specialists and all this, but they just get on the merry-go-round and they just keep getting fucked around and fucked around and fucked around over and over and over again, to the point where I have, like within my network, pretty much everybody who needs help with testosterone replacement therapy or looking after their testosterone or optimizing their energy, their stress levels, their fatigue, all that sort of stuff. They don't go to doctors anymore. They just come straight to me. The reason why they come to me is because my concern is about getting results, whereas the doctors are much more concerned about their paycheck. It's really sad and it's really fucked up. And so a lot of guys go down that path. And if you have gone down that path, like I really feel for you because the chances are you probably got fucked around. So that's the second thing, which is bullshit. The third thing that's bullshit about fixing low testosterone is diets. People claim that all these wonderful diets boost testosterone or change testosterone. Here's the thing. In the end of the day, if you get an adequate intake of saturated fat, if you get an adequate intake of calories and an adequate intake of protein, you're going to be pretty fucking fine. It doesn't really matter that much, right? Because the real thing which actually influences your levels of testosterone is your nervous system. And I'll explain to you how this works, right? In order to fully understand and comprehend this, we need to know how the production of testosterone works. So, your testosterone is produced in your nads, right? That's where it comes out. But before then, there are these little areas in your brain which tell your nads how to make testosterone. If your testicles had their way, they would just be churning out testosterone 24/7, 365, go, 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 go. And they would have that shit surging. So in order for us to control that, because that wouldn't actually be terribly good, if we have too high levels of testosterone, it can actually often have some side effects. So what ends up happening is we have the brain there's two particular areas, right? Number one is the hypothalamus, and number two is the pituitary. You don't need to remember those names. Just remember the pituitary is like the control center within the brain, the hormone control center. So the hormone control center sends down signals to your balls to produce more testosterone or less testosterone, okay? Now, in times of stress, this gets altered, because testosterone has a relationship with our stress hormones. Now, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you remember these because that's adrenaline and cortisol. Whenever we have an increased level of stress hormone, we have a decreased level of testosterone. Thereby, if we have an increased presence of stress within our nervous system and our nervous system isn't functioning terribly well, we'll have much more stress hormones and much less testosterone. This is the case in literally every single instance that I ever see of somebody with low testosterone. Every single time it is a nervous system issue. As long as you're trying to use supplements, as long as you're trying to use pills and potions, as long as you're trying to go and use drugs, as long as you're trying to go and use diets or exercise or anything like that to fix low testosterone, you're fixing the wrong problem, and that is why you're not getting results. And I can imagine a couple of you guys are having some light bulbs pop off at the moment. You're like, fuck, that's me. I've tried all that stuff before. Now I'm just going to say straight out, it's not your fault. The reason why you've gone out and you've tried all this shit is because a lot of people on the internet, number one, want to sell you some shit, right? They just want to sell you supplements. Because the supplement industry is a big industry. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And unfortunately, you just got marketed, bro. The second thing is that doctors and endocrinologists should have your best interest in heart. But unfortunately, like my experience with my client, a lot of the time they don't. They don't really give a fuck about you. And it's a sad thing. But if we've got to look at that from their perspective for a sec, right? Doctors and endocrinologists make the decision to become a doctor or endocrinologist from a very, very young age, most of the time. 18 years of age, they decide to do that. Now, let's think about it. If you're 18 and you make a decision which is going to impact your life, right, that's a pretty big fucking call. And so they go to uni, they get up to $200,000 in debt to become a doctor, to become a specialist. Can you imagine spending 10 to 15 years of your life, several $100,000, right? It's most of a house. That's a mortgage, right? Spending a mortgage on your education and then coming out and saying, fuck, I don't like my job, right? You're probably going to keep doing it anyway because you've got bills to pay. You've got that debt to work off. By that time, you've probably got a family, you've probably got kids, you've got people to look after. You've got responsibilities. So you just suck it the fuck up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every time that I've worked with someone who is just doing a job for the sake of a job, they don't really fucking care. Whereas if you have someone who's totally passionate about what they're doing, they crush it and they're really, really good. So that's why. It's not their fault. It just happens to them. It's sadly a negative part of the industry. And the third thing, with the diets and all that sort of stuff, everyone just wants to tell you that their diet's the best. But here's the thing. They're all shit. Fuck them, right? You can be carnivore, you can be fucking vegan. Well, maybe not vegan, but that's another story. Carnivore, you can be paleo, keto, high carb, low carb. It doesn't fucking matter. You just got to hit the basic requirements for it, and that's not terribly difficult. The real thing that you need to do is you need to look after the nervous system. If you look after the nervous system, that is when you win. And by the way, if you want to learn more about this, just comment testosterone down in the comment section below. Because the nervous system is the thing which actually regulates everything. It is the control center. It literally sends the hormones and the messages from the brain down to your nuts to tell you to produce more testosterone or less testosterone. And at every single second that you have insufficient levels of insufficient levels of nervous system, if your nervous system isn't happy with you, if your nervous system is fried or stressed out, then you're immediately going to have lower levels of testosterone straight away. And there is nothing that diets or pills and potions or drugs or anyone, even specialists and doctors, none of them can do shit about it until you actually start fixing your nervous system, right? And I've used this on thousands of guys so far. You'll see him. Nashi just commented before, throw those test boosters in the bin, JCF is the answer. Legit, because we tripled Nashi's testosterone in 10 weeks, right? 10 weeks we tripled his levels of testosterone. And that's after years of him fucking around with all the other bullshit, right? 10 weeks, that's all it took. So if you want your testosterone levels to triple in 10 weeks, just like Nashi's, well, maybe you should comment testosterone down below, and we'll see how we can help you and pimp your levels back up so that you can actually live life the way that you want to live it. Make sense? On that note, guys, I'll leave you all to it. I hope this helped you out. If you want more information on testosterone, if you want to have more testosterone, if you want to have a better sex drive, more energy, less fatigue, less brain fog, more fun in life and get your mojo back, just comment testosterone down below and we'll show you how to do it. Have a wonderful day, you awesome human beings. Hope it helps. Comment down below.